Welcome to your Questions Answered with Father Gruner. This is a new program that we have. It's on the internet every day from Monday through Friday. So please tune in with send us your questions that we can answer them. The email is questions@thefatimacenter.com. We're still talking about the consecration of Russia, and the question is specifically, what did Our Lady ask for Russia? Why has this request been made, and what are the benefits of it, and what are the consequences of not doing it?
I think Saint Francis of Sales says it's good for people to ask questions to try and understand something better. He talks about, say, lawyers sort of going over the verdict. Why was it this way? What about that? And so forth. And so, as long as you take these questions in the sense that we're trying to understand the request, it's good. We're not here to question God's will. God has said through the message of Fatima.
That would be a challenge, not a question.
So God has said Russia, the moment has come which God asked the Holy Father to make and to command all the bishops of the world to make the Consecration of Russia. So God asked for it, that's good enough. But now, try and understand what this is about. Well, I think there's several reasons why Russia has been mentioned. And I'm not suggesting that my reasons are the only reasons or the best reasons. Now, we had an article by Father Gregory Hess in our Crusader some years ago, about 10 years ago now, maybe it's more like 12, in which he reasons just from the facts of history and from the facts of theology that Russia should be consecrated. And I can't really say I remember all those reasons there, but they can certainly go to our website to find that article. But one of the things that certainly struck me is that Russia, for example, has been desecrated. I'm not saying the Russians are guilty or more guilty than somebody else, but I'm just saying Russia has been desecrated. And to take this to, shall we say, a simpler example, in the city of New York, the Cathedral of St. Patrick's was desecrated some years ago. It wasn't the present cardinal, but some cardinal before that had to reconsecrate the Cathedral of St. Patrick's because a murder had been committed there. And I think St. Thomas points out that if there's a shedding of blood, for example, when killing somebody is shedding of blood in a cathedral or a church for that matter, the church would be reconsecrated. So St. Patrick's was desecrated. It had been consecrated, had to be reconsecrated because of this crime committed there. Similarly, in Russia, the crime of communism, the crime of, and instead of thinking in the term of the word communism, if you think of if you have a family of, say, 10 children, and if one child decides to organize the other children against the parents, it would be a rebellion. It would be against the Fourth Commandment, and it would be public, because if the children or someone got inside, they'd be confronting their father, confronting their mother. It would be an attack on the authority of the parent, which comes from God. Similarly, this is much worse. Russia was set up as a empire to fight against God around the world. So it's not just parents who are only procreators. Here you have these creatures of God organizing in a particular part of the world to fight against God around the world. And this is a crime against God. And so it's a public crime. So it requires a public reparation. And since Russia was consecrated, it was consecrated as a Catholic nation in 988 AD, and that desecrated that consecration. I'm not saying there hasn't anything before, but that, shall we say, there were other things before that, but that capped it of all the things. That's the worst crime that a nation has committed, to organize itself to fight against God around the world. Now, we must say in the defense of the Russians that it was a lot of people from outside doing this to them. It wasn't just Russian people. That's perhaps a time for another question. But the fact is that Russia needs to be rededicated, reconsecrated, and as such, but in fact, you don't have to take my word for it. Our Lady came at Fatima and worked a great miracle and said, this must be done.
And the children at the time didn't even know what Russia was, if I remember.
Well,
I barely knew what Russia was.
Well, I think that Lucy tells us, that we were told, many times the Blessed Virgin told us, myself, Jacinta and Francisco, that Russia is an instrument of chastisement to punish the whole world for the world's sins if we don't obtain the conversion of that poor nation. And she said nation, so she must have known it was a nation. And she said, but the only way we know to convert that poor nation is the consecration of Russia. As Our Lady has said, without that consecration, Russia cannot convert. Without that consecration, the world cannot have peace. So if we want peace, and we can see the weapons of mass destruction, that we can blow up the whole world many, many times over, all over the world, if we're rational human beings, we would not want to have peace. And the only way to get peace is to have the consecration of Russia. So that's why we need to do it.
All right, that's good. And in our next installment, we will answer the question that many people ask, and that is the question that this idea that Russia is being picked on. Why is Russia the focus of the need for this consecration? And that'll be in our next installment, so stay tuned.